Happy Epiphany, everyone. Today is January 6th, and that is the actual date of the Epiphany. It is the 12th day of Christmas, the 12th night, as made famous in the play by the same name by William Shakespeare. Today is the day in which we celebrate the manifestation of Jesus to the world, even if we happen to pre-manifest him last Sunday on a transferred feast. Today in our readings in the modern version of the Mass, we continue to see manifestations of Jesus and his power. The famous story today in the Gospel is Jesus coming walking on the water amidst a storm at night in which the disciples are fearing for their lives. Not only does he walk on the water, but he gets in the boat and the storm dies down. This shows that God, Jesus, ultimately has complete control and authority over all creation, which makes sense since he made it. He is the Lord of all creation. And he shows his apostles clearly that this is the case. Now, I think it's important that we then on this day reflect upon the value of creation and how it serves God's ultimate purpose. Sometimes we can make the mistake to think that creation is somehow on the same level as human beings. We are part of creation, but we're also the pinnacle of creation. So we don't want to think that somehow Earth would be better if we weren't here. Well, that would defeat the whole point. Creation is made for man. It is to help us, but it's to ultimately help us to arrive at God. And so Jesus not only controls creation, but he orders it to help us towards our final end, which is heaven. Now notice then that we need not be afraid of the elements of creation, as Jesus shows that he can control even winds and sea, but I think we should also note what a beautiful gift it is that creation points us to God. There are other ways in which the scriptures remind us that God is Lord of creation. Today, on this Feast of Epiphany, in the Divine Office, the prayers of the hours, at the Office of Matins, we get a special homily of Pope St. Gregory the Great on this day, in which he points out various ways in which creation has obeyed God, and he shows that, in fact, the sea became like a solid highway under his feet, as we read today in the ordinary form. But he also shows how at Jesus' death, the earth quaked, and especially at his birth, a star shone. It's even more exciting if you think that this star was perhaps a conjunction of planets or a heliacal rising of the planet Jupiter or something that would have been set in motion long, long before. God orders all creation towards his purposes. Now, when I work with the Boy Scouts, I often find that many of them are not exposed to God or religion at all, but if you get them out in creation, in nature, they will often find God amidst his creation, because all of creation tells the glory of God. I thought of this recently as I got published one of my pictures in a calendar. This is January of the Philmont Scout Ranch calendar. And January there is, it's a picture of a mountain called Little Castilla that I took that picture. And, lots of people like to go to Philmont and look at the mountains. And I thought, that mountain, it's just a big rock. It's a big rock with, in that case, a bunch of snow on top. Why does that captivate us? Why would I hang that on my wall for the entire month of January? And people actually pay to buy that calendar so they can look at my picture of a rock with snow on it all January. Well, as I tell the scouts out at Philmont, we all recognize that we like to look at the silver on the sage, the beautiful starlit skies above, the mountains, the forest. We love this stuff. Even an atheist who claims that maybe there's no God, they love this stuff. Well, why? Well, God not only created the mountains and the beautiful stars, he created us, and most especially, he created us to be able to appreciate the rest of what he created. You don't see the deer out there looking at a mountain in the evening and saying, wow, that's a nice sunset behind that mountain. The deer around the Catholic chapel at Philmont, they just eat. That's all they do. They eat grass. They don't seem to marvel at the stars or the sunset. But the scouts do. That's because we are made in the image and likeness of God. He made us at the top of his creation so that we might marvel at his creation. So today on this Feast of the Epiphany, we recognize that the stars obey him. The mountains obey him. The seas obey him. They let him walk on top of the seas if he wants to. And that means that if they work for God's purposes, creation works for our purpose as well. Not just our worldly subtle purposes, but our ultimate purpose, to get to heaven. So today, maybe take note of creation. What little signs has God put in creation for which we can be thankful today? What do you see out there? Maybe it's a bird. Maybe it's the melting snow, some flowing water. Well, it's just a bunch of stuff, really. Unless there's a God who made that stuff. And maybe you and I are more than just a bunch of stuff, and we were made to admire the artist who made the other stuff. Don't miss the work of the artist of creation today as he uses it towards your ultimate purpose to bring you to heaven. Happy Epiphany, and God bless.